1051, home of the Breakfast Club. My guest today, Devon Franklin and Meagan Good. The Wait. Get a good shot of it. Get a good shot of the new book. Powerful practice for finding the love of your life and the life you love. You wrote a book.
We wrote a book.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
These headphones are too loud. It's a huge thing. It's a huge accomplishment.
It is. It is.
And especially you guys been together for what, 3 years now, or
Almost
four? 4 years.
Yep.
And how long does it take? Like, when did you start writing the book?
Oh my goodness. Well, I guess since the first moment we went out, the book started being written. But
Really?
yeah, technically, probably a year,
It's
year or
about
so after getting married or so. You know,
You were like, we have something to say. We want to share our story.
yeah, it was organic. I mean, as we were out doing press for our different projects, people started asking about our story. And as we started sharing our story, people really got inspired by what we were saying and really kept asking us more questions. Well, how do you do this? And how do you date? And how do you find love? And how do you prepare yourself for marriage? And so out of that, we thought it was a good idea to at least do our part and tell our story to help as many people as we could.
Wow. And so you've been married for 4 years. So let's take it back a little, because I know Meagan,
Yes.
but I haven't seen you in years. So I don't know this new life. You're a wife. You wrote a book. The interesting thing, though, is I don't know. I go back to your character in Think Like a Man. Maya.
Yeah.
Little Maya, who was struggling with love.
Yeah.
Who decided she was going to make him wait for 90 days.
Yes.
Were you already you were in this?
I was in the wait at the time. Yeah.
You were in real life in the wait.
Yeah. When I read the character, I was like, oh, I'm literally living this right now. So I knew exactly who she was. I understood the character, her wanting to make a change, wanting to get a different result, wanting to grow and just stop, making the same mistake.
So it wasn't inspired by that character, the thought. It was already something you were already living.
Yeah, something I was already living.
So tell me what the wait is exactly. How it starts.
I mean, for me, the wait started with, after my last relationship, I realized that, throughout the years and relationships that I had been in, I was just accumulating baggage and damage and frustration. And it's not that any of those people were not good people, to be in a relationship with. It wasn't any cheating or anything like that. But it was just, I realized that, when I was intimate with a person, you kind of have blinders on. So you kind of make excuses for things that you wouldn't normally, settle for. And oftentimes it takes you 2, 3, 4 years down the line before you really put in perspective, who you're dating and if that's really what you want. And so for me, coming out of my last relationship, I said, you know what? I'm tired of running into walls. It's time for me to really make a definitive decision about what I want for myself and what I want for my life. And I took that period and decided that, I was going to wait and just take.
But wait, for what? Just forever, or until you were married, or
until I was married?
Until you were married.
Yeah. But I knew that was what was next, because I had been, praying about it, and I was just like, what am I supposed to be doing? Like, what am I doing wrong here? And at that time, when I had first started waiting, I had prayed about it, and God told me that He was my husband. Although it took 9 months before He asked me.
When you say He told you, like by name?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
He just said I could just hear His voice in my head and in my spirit and just say that Devon's your husband. And I was like,
I didn't know anything about that.
Wait, did you know each other?
We had met each other. See, I was the studio executive that oversaw the movie Jumping the Broom.
Got
And
it.
so that was a
So you had
movie
met
that
there.
I had put together and along with, T.D. Jakes and Salima Keel, Mara Keel, Tracy Edmonds, Glendon Palmer. And when we went to cast the movie, Meagan had come in to read for the bride part, but we had already cast Paula Patton. And Meagan's reading was so great, we offered her the role of the maid of honor. And we were grateful that she ended up taking it. Now, the thing that was really cool is I knew her years before, just in a general meeting. As an executive, I met with a lot of different talent and actors. And so when we were on set, we just reconnected as friends. Like, oh, hey, how you doing? How's it going? Your audition was great.
Did you know he was your husband at that point? Not
No,
yet. Not yet.
I was still in a
And I wasn't,
relationship.
that's right, I wasn't even thinking of her as
I
my
wasn't-
wife at all.
Yeah.
Not even a
It
little
was
bit.
strictly platonic. It was just like, oh, great to see you. Da 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 da.
Totally business. And it wasn't until the premiere of Jumping the Broom, which was 9 months later, where her and I are talking at the after party. And as we're having this conversation, I'm like, wait a minute, is something going on here? Like, is Meagan Good throwing me some vibes?
What was those vibes? What were you doing?
I wasn't doing much.
Were you blinking extra hard? Like, what happened?
I was just waiting, because like I said, I knew before that he was my husband. I started telling friends and family. I was like, yeah, Devon's my husband. They're like,
That sounds a little
you sound
nuts.
crazy. And they're like, how do you know? I'm like, God told me. They're like, no, you really sound crazy. And it was over.
But like what, in a dream? In a
just like in prayer. Just
in
praying.
prayer.
Yeah.
In the middle of prayer.
Yeah. And it was like crisp and it was clear and it was like loud enough, you know? So I just knew that I knew that I knew, and I just started taking that time to prepare myself because I realized I had a lot of damage and a lot of healing that needed to take place. And, and also that time was really about me, like me maturing and me dealing with myself and me getting prepared for what was next. And so,
and what was,
and you were living a similar life, right?
Well, I was living a similar life, but
you were in the weight
I'd
too,
already been
no?
in the weight for a long time.
Which is even more interesting from a man's perspective.
Yeah.
An executive in LA.
I know.
Beautiful women around all the time.
Yeah.
And you're just celibate, waiting.
That's it. You got to wait on the Lord.
Waiting for your wife.
That's right. That's right. And I started in my early 20s. And you know, at the time I started, you know, I grew up in the church. And even though I'm in Hollywood and been in Hollywood for 20 years and now producing films and TV and whatnot, I started, in addition, preaching. I started preaching when I was 15. So what was interesting was that even though I was interested in Hollywood, I was still out there telling people and instructing them how to live. And so, you know, I said I was going to wait in my teens and didn't. And I was still speaking to people about how to live all the way into my early 20s, but I wasn't practicing.
Right.
And this dichotomy of being two different people was tearing me apart. I couldn't get up and tell you how to live if I'm living in hypocrisy. So I really wanted spiritually to align myself and said, you know what? I've got to stop. I believe that sex is made for marriage, and I need to stop, even if it means, as a man, doing something that most people think you can't do and think that is impossible. And the thing that also kept me in it was I believed, wait a minute, if God has a plan for my life, and to access that plan, it requires obedience. If I'm disobedient in this area and it disqualifies me for the full plan of God's plan for my life, could I live with that? And I personally couldn't live with the idea that sex before marriage would be the thing that would keep me from experiencing the full destiny that I have.
Is that hard?
Yeah, it was hard. Are you kidding me? It was unbelievable.
I mean, you know, especially when you're having new feelings and it's exciting.
Yeah.
And
it was very.
There's probably
very
candlelight dinners happening.
Here and there.
Yeah.
But I thought we talk about this in the book. When I got that night, going back to the premiere party, when we started talking, I said, wait a minute, something's going on here. Even after our first date, I was very resistant to this idea because, well, one of the number one things on my list was not date actresses. Being in Hollywood and being an executive at the time, I didn't want to date an actress. And I'm like, no, not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so here God is bringing me love in the package of an actress.
Yeah, because you don't make the decisions.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. But I did have a choice. Am I going to reject love because it doesn't look like my list?
Right.
Or am I going to accept love as is, knowing that it's the right love for me? And I think that so many times we put down a list, say, oh, it's got to be, he's got to be this or she's got to be that. And sometimes while the list is well-intentioned, it can lead us down a wrong path. And sometimes love will come to us in a different form. But if we accept it and embrace it, it really can be the thing that we're actually looking for.
Man, I interviewed, you know who Paul Carrick Brunson is?
Of course.
He's a matchmaker. Oh, it's your
I'm
buddy?
making his movie.
Of course.
I'm making his movie. I optioned his book. Yeah.
I'm so happy about that.
Yeah.
Because a long time ago I had a conversation with him, and I always share this story with my single friends. And he was telling me about the main thing you should do if you're looking for love is figure out what your 3 core values are, so that you could find those same 3 core values in your partner. Because ultimately, if you don't know what they are, then you could be distracted by somebody's swag, or they're funny, or they're smart, or they're entertaining, or all that other stuff, and it distracts you from having like a real connection with somebody. So that kind of speaks to, and I share that with everybody that I can because I think it's so important. Yeah. But it speaks to where you both and your values are in your life, and then coming together. So when did you realize though that you were both on the weight? Is that a thing? Like on the weights, what I'm calling it?
It's
practicing
the plan, like it's the plan, like it's some sort of like it's a Weight Watchers plan.
It's funny because I remember like I told Tasha Smith, and this was a few months before we started dating. This was about, at this point, it was like 4 months before we started dating. And I told Tasha Smith, I was like, Tasha, I was like, guess what? I was like, Devon's my husband. She's like,
that's so funny.
She was like,
girl.
You know he's celibate, right? And I was like, no, I didn't know that, but I just became celibate. She was like, no, girl, he's like for real celibate. I was like, no,
not like you, 40 minutes.
and then she's also the one that told me he was in ministry. I had no idea about that either. And had I known that beforehand, it probably would have intimidated me and scared me away. Right. But when going into it, we kind of both already knew that each other was at that point because I had found out prior to that. And then when him and I discussed it, I was like, yeah, that's the same page that I'm on. That's the same thing that I want to do too.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny too because one of the parts I saw in the book, you talk about that you were like living parts of the Bible.
Yeah.
Like you were following the parts you wanted to follow,
Right.
and everything else is kind of.
Right.
And I think the time that I knew you, or we'd spent some time around each other, you were still like going out and going to clubs and all that stuff. I think but even then, I remember you. I don't know. I feel like we were out somewhere and maybe had a few drinks, and even then, in that moment, you like pulled the car over and we were like praying in the car. And so I do know that of you, even in that moment before you got all the way here. So it's interesting to see. It's like the root of something that's already there, but it's just like not developed.
Yeah.
So what is the point though that takes you from that to like to be, fully invested and fully committed? And
I think it was just that. It was deciding that, was I happy with the direction that my life was going? And to some degree I was happy, but I knew that there was more. And I knew that I could be wholer and happier and just better off than I was. And so it was, like you said, making the decision to not just choose, if this is what I really believe and I believe in the Word of God, then I'm not going to pick and choose the areas that I think that I should follow. And
is that hard? Was that hard?
Yeah, because sex was the hardest area.
Was it?
Yeah.
Harder than anything else?
Yeah.
Well, what else do you have to stop doing? Or did you have to?
That was the main thing.
Really?
That was the thing that I struggled with the most, and the thing that I felt like I was going to see the biggest difference if I, did that. And so when I did, from the moment I did it, I started seeing a difference immediately in myself, and then also in our relationship. I just knew what I knew about him, the same way that I know, God, where it's just like I know that I know no one can tell me anything different. And to have that kind of confidence in the relationship, and to just have a totally different perspective,
It's such an interesting and different perspective than most of the people that sit in my chair. Yes, it's a different perspective, but it's interesting. So when you write this book, is your thought to like that everybody should kind of live that way?
It's not to tell anybody what to do, and it's not to be preachy, and it's not to say, well, this is what you need to do to get this in life.
Right.
It's about, this is what we did, and this is what was the game changer for us. This is what shifted both of our lives in a very dramatic way. And especially with this generation, we have a lot of influences out there that are teaching us to not value ourselves and to not love ourselves and to not really know who we are, especially as women and men, like as king and queens. We just don't identify ourselves with how valuable we are. And so this is just, what we're putting out into the universe that we believe, and we hope that it blesses and helps other people. And we believe that it will.
Yeah. I mean, we really, just piggybacking, we really want to help. And the goal here is to do that. And we do live in a culture at times where it's almost like sex becomes the admission price for love. And we believe that actually it should not. We do believe that it's important to get a sense of, do I love the person for who they are, for what they're about, where they're going? And we really feel it's important to try to help as best we can. I mean, sex is a difficult area for everybody.
Yeah.
And we really just wanted to write something and share what we've learned as a way to help people get perspective on this particular area. This is an area that whether a man wants to say, oh, I'm going to wait or not, I would encourage him, read the book. Because I can tell you, as a man who has seen a lot of success by the grace of God, I'm 37 years old. I have my own production company with Sony Pictures. I have my first movie coming out next month. And people say, how have you been able to do all this? I'm married to Meagan Good. Success.
Not bad.
Not bad. But the reason why.
Good catch there.
Amen. It's a great catch. but the reason why is because I believe I took on the challenge early on getting control of this area. So if we learn the power of patience and persistence and knowing that everything has a time, a reason, and a season, we will live more successfully because we will get to those things when they are at the appropriate time.
The right way. Yeah, appropriate time. Wow. And so what is the because there are, and you can speak to enough, there's rumors that I saw something that people are speculating that there's a baby already coming. Have you heard these?
No, they got to keep waiting for that.
You ain't ready for that.
You ain't ready for that?
Not yet.
No.
Maybe you on the book tour or something has prompted, but I guess you've heard those rumors.
Oh
Yeah,
we've heard of no
Not
baby.
yet. No babies yet. You gotta make some cute babies though.
Oh,
Thank
you.
you.
That's for sure.
Thank you.
Just to switch gears a little bit, today, of course, is the start of Black History Month.
Yes.
And both of you being in Hollywood, I wonder what your take is on this whole Oscar thing. And will you be watching?
Yeah, we actually are going to be doing a book event in Dallas that same day.
Of the
TD
Oscars?
Jakes. Yes, yes. So we will be out of town, and occupied.
Conveniently out of town and
Hey.
too busy.
Bishop hit us up, said, "Oh, I got a conference at the end of February and want you to stay over at the Potter's house to do a book signing." So that's what we'll be. But I think that there is a tremendous necessity for the continued publicity around this issue, because the issue is bigger than the Oscars. The issue is Hollywood at large. It is deplorable that we are in 2016 and the executive ranks, the talent agency ranks, the management ranks, when you look at who are the decision makers in Hollywood, it's still incredibly not diverse.
Right.
So I think that when you talk about a boycott, I think what it does is it brings publicity around this issue. And I think the issue really is about how do we begin to get Hollywood to begin to embrace diversity the same way that the audience that they are programming for.
I'll be watching because Chris Rock's still in. I think he's going to be so amazing. I think he's going to be amazing.
I'm hoping
that
and
night.
praying. I'm hoping.
And then what about you, Miss Lady? What's happening? What do we need to look for? What's
Man, well, right now I'm doing a show called Code Black that I'm really excited about. I'm
On
playing a
CBS.
doctor. On CBS. I'm playing a doctor, Dr. Grace Adams, and it's just been an amazing experience. I've been in the ER a few times and saw a guy who cut his leg open with a chainsaw and watched him get stitched up and all that
What do you
stuff.
mean?
So
On the show, or they send you
real
to the
life.
real life?
they send you to the real life.
So that what? So you can experience it?
Yeah, so you can learn about just everything from the doctor's demeanors to how the surgeries happen and
So you
unfold,
sit in the
lingo.
emergency room
Yeah.
and you watch.
Yeah, and you wait as people come in, and then you go in the room literally with the doctor. I was probably closer to the doctor than I am to you right now. Like just watching this guy, get his leg sewed up, and it's really interesting. And I'm learning a lot of new medicine words and all kinds of stuff. But I'm excited for people to see this character because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. It deals with a young girl.
And the first episode airs, what, February?
Look at you.
10th.
Look at
10th.
you.
It's
Okay.
on point.
I'm just
Look
making
at
sure.
you.
Hey, let them know. Let them know.
That's real love right
That's
there.
right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
You're like,
Right.
baby, tell them when it's on.
When is it on? Let them
February
know.
10th.
February
February
10th.
10th.
Wednesday night.
Well, I just got my book, and I mean, I kind of went through it, and I was already like, I was going to leave you in the hallway longer waiting, so I didn't keep reading more. So I'm going to go home and read the rest. But thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Is there anything
you.
else people should know, or you want them to get from this?
Thank you.
from
They
the
can.
book, or?
Today is the first day that it's out, and it's in stores everywhere, and you can get it on Amazon as well. And you can go to our website. You can download the Kindle version. We got the other ebook version through iTunes. We even have an audio book.
It's a super easy read
Yeah.
too.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's a
We
super
really-
easy read.
We want it to be very conversational. And look, our goal is to help. If you're tired of doing the same thing in your
Yeah.
love life, we have no doubt that what we share in the book will help you tremendously get the life that you really, really want.
Well, there it is. Devon Franklin, Meagan. Good, everybody. The Wait. Available now.
Thank you, Angie.
Spy 105.1.